Hello, all, and welcome to English 101, Section 55 of the 25-26 Summer Session Term 1. So, I want to walk you through a few things. Each week you'll have a lecture video, and you'll find those in the module. If you have not yet watched the Welcome to My Class, please do so. That will give you some important tips that I find are problems for people generally. So what you always want to do is head to the modules. You want to make sure that you have completed this assignment. I have it also listed here. So you'll complete this one and then this one, and I'll put the due date in here right now as I talk. So each week you will see that I have my assignments. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. You will see that I have everything listed in the order that you need it. So this looks like it should be good. And I guess because I see graded, but it's not graded, so it won't count. But so you need to make sure you have that done this week, but it is loaded, so the assignments will close. So when you're in the modules, you always want to make sure that you go to the tasks and assignments for that week and have everything listed here. The link to the video will be posted here when I am done talking to you guys today. And so you'll be able to watch that and hopefully follow along. And I'm going to walk you through my expectations for this week. So the first thing you guys are going to do is head over to your textbook. And you can find that in My Materials, and you're going to go to your Patterns for College Writing. If you have a hard copy, that is absolutely fine as well. We're going to be looking at pages 11 through 28 of the writing process. It always takes me a minute for this to load, and I apologize. So, should I hum for you? I don't know what's taking so long. I'm in the right session. Let's see what happens if I view in Legacy. All right, there we go. All right, so we want our Patterns for College Writing. So we're going to be looking at part 1, pages 11 through 28 in the writing process. So as soon as it finally gets there, I really do apologize that you have to sit through all this boring stuff. I'm sure it'll get there. I'm going to hum again. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I really would have thought that the Jeopardy theme song would have gotten us through. Man. Of course something went wrong. It always goes wrong. There we go. Patterns for College Writing. Oh man. There we go. All right. Yay, we're in. Okay. So the easiest thing for you to do is go down here to page. It can be a little confusing with the location, but if you just go here and type in page 11, then it's going to take you to the section that I want you guys to read through this week. And as you're reading through, if you have a hard copy, and then I encourage you to write in it. If you don't, then I would encourage you to take notes as you read. And so I'm going to go back to the coursework for just a minute and go back into the module and show you a couple of things of what I expect you to do while you're doing this. So at the very bottom, it says some ways to annotate. So if you have the ability to write in your text, then you want to submit something that looks like this. So these are 3 different examples of how somebody has annotated different types of text. So notice that they've written in the margins, they've circled things, underlined things, and made notes. And that's really an important piece of our reading and understanding. I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, the reading writing connection, the science is proving it, the studies are proving it. When you write by hand, you learn better. And that's one way you can do it. But let's say that you've borrowed the book and you want to sell it back, or you've got a digital copy and you're not really comfortable writing on the screen, because that doesn't do a whole lot of good either. Something that you can do then is you don't have to actually do this sheet, but you can kind of follow this pattern in your own notebook. So as you're reading, you might think about things that you agree with, something that you connect to, something that it reminds you of. You might think about something negative. It's absolutely okay to go, I don't agree with that. I don't think that works. It's also okay to have a new idea or make a connection to something that you never thought about. And it's also okay to question the text. So you want to be able to say, why is it asking me this? Why is it telling me this? Even if it's a word you don't understand, then at least you have something that connects you with the text. And you also want to be able to summarize what you've read. So this is just a general model. I wouldn't actually expect you to fill in this sheet, but think, for example, about having a whole page in a notebook completed with page numbers or quotes and connections that you've made to certain lines. So if we go back to the other one, for example, we don't have to have page numbers because we have our text that we've written on here. But this person has probably chosen colors for particular reasons. So think about those colors maybe as a plus, minus, exclamation mark, question mark kind of thing. So you always want to be able to do that. So that's what I want you to do as you're reading through the textbook. You want to consider all of these things. And when you read with intention and purpose, it can show on the page. And a lot of you guys were taught to highlight and underline. While those can be good, highlighting to the person who's looking at your annotations only tells the person that you like color. It doesn't tell the person what you were thinking about when you highlighted it. Similarly, the same thing is true with underlining. If you can underline, you're telling me you're sober, but you're not telling me why you underlined it, why it's relevant to you. So make sure that you make notes about that. And so with this section in the writing process, that's what we're going to focus on in this 101 course. How do we structure our writing and make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck? Now, here's the thing, guys. AI is super popular. I've been doing this for 30 years. I can spot AI a mile away. I even teach a course on AI. I get it. It's easy. It's the fastest way out, but it's not original. It doesn't show me you, nor does it show me your own individual thoughts. And so I say this with a warning to you. I don't care what you think, as long as you think. In other words, we do not have to agree on the same ideas for me to believe that you are an efficient and effective communicator in the written word. My job is to make sure that you provide solid evidence and argumentation for the point that you're trying to make, whatever that point is. So I don't want you to get caught up in this concept of a perfect essay. I can tell you the biggest thing that we find typically with AI is that it becomes generic and vague without specific nuances that make the writing personal. So I would easily give an A, B, or C to somebody who has grammatical errors, but really does show me that they understand and can organize their ideas, versus the person that turns in a perfect looking paper that has very little substance. So I caution you on using AI when we're doing this. And there really is something about the ability to be able to show what you know without depending on it. And again, I get it. We all want shortcuts. That's a psychological fact. The human body seeks out a homeostatic state, meaning it wants to do the least amount of possible to get the most bang for its buck. That's human nature. But I really hope that you take the next 7 weeks to embrace this concept of slowing down, reading intentionally, and writing with purpose. So as we do that, we look at the steps of the writing process. There is such a thing as pre-writing. That pre-writing can be your annotations. That can be you deciding what is important in the text and what is not important in the text. Gathering your supporting information will become a big part of this because your final project, your final paper, will be a research paper. And the middle assignment, because you only have 3, the middle will be an annotated bibliography in which you show me how you know to gather information. So you're going to also look at the arrangement. How do we organize our writing? What does that look like? And teaching high school, a lot of times our kids think that drafting and revising is just writing it once and then writing it over again neatly, and that's not it. Drafting and revising is really looking at your intention. It's, does this paragraph meet the needs of my thesis statement? Does this topic sentence get evidence below it to support it? Have I provided enough evidence that really proves my point? And then, after you have revised and revised and revised, and trust me, writing is an iterative process. There's one thing about sending a text to a friend and you don't care what the punctuation looks like or if you use the wrong word. So you don't worry about it there. But when you are trying to do something like this, you want it to be polished. And in order for it to be polished, you have to pay attention to the detail because the detail matters. That's when your editing and proofreading comes in handy. And you don't need to be your only editor and proofreader. There are people that get paid tons of money to edit and proofread for other people. So one strategy that I encourage you to do is after you have drafted, hand your paper to somebody else, your child, your spouse, your mom, your dad, your roommate, your next door neighbor, somebody, and say, would you please read this aloud to me? And what's going to happen when they read it aloud is, number one, they're going to stop, pause, or stutter over issues that you have that don't flow for them. Now, why might it flow for you versus them? Well, that's your ugly baby. You made it. You created it. You know what it wanted to say. So you don't see the flaws in it. But having somebody else do a cold read and having you hear it yourself from somebody else's mouth will let you know that your paper is or is not doing what you want it to do. So I really encourage you to take this writing process very seriously. Okay? So let's continue through some of these pages and I'll hit some of the points because we're going to page 28. So this is where the annotation really kicks in when we talk about reading to write and becoming a critical reader. In order to become a critical reader, you must engage with the text. If you're like me, as I was in high school, it came easy. I didn't have to take notes. I didn't have to study. I made A's. And I got to college, and it proceeded to whoop my tail with a 1.67 GPA that almost got me kicked out of Clemson University until I realized something had to change, and it was me. And I wasn't even a party girl. I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to engage with text because I'd never met anything that was challenging with me. And what I had to start doing was writing all over that text. And if you want to see some of my college annotations, I still got them, folks, because I worked hard for those things. But this is a way for you to read critically within the text so that you know what's going on. So, recognizing how to get these active reading processes done. One of the things that you need to do is look at your prior knowledge. What do you already know about reading or writing? Are you one of those people that said, I read it, but I don't get it? If you are, then that probably means you're one of the people that can call every word, but because you didn't take the time to pause and reflect on what you were reading, to make connections, to think about something else that matches that, then you've not been actively reading. So looking at something and deciding, what do I already know? What can I add to that? And here's the thing. Interest does matter, and in college, sometimes you're just stuck reading what the professor says for you to read. And if that's the case, having these types of annotation tools will help you be more successful when you're reading something that does not engage you. So I will make you this promise. Throughout the course, I will try very hard to pick topics and things that are of interest to you. I don't always succeed, but just know that that effort is there. So notice how this third checklist, how is the text similar to or different? That goes back into that plus and minus that I was talking about. What connections can you make? What does it remind you of? Notice too that personal experiences can play a big role in that. What is it that you bring to the table with that? Because your experience is what makes the experience unique. So you and I will not look at the same short story the same way, or the same poem the same way, or even the same news article the same way, because every individual has a different perspective. And then always remember, your goal is for you to walk away knowing more than you did before you started. So, the first assignment that you're going to do, and we're not really going to see it until next week. I'm going to walk you through some things and we're going to practice the annotation this week. But we're going to be doing a visual rhetorical analysis. So you will have some interest in that. You'll get to pick what you're looking at based on some pre-selected pieces. But you'll get choice out of that. So hopefully you'll be a little more interested in it. But think about having a conversation with yourself as you are reading through this. So a rhetorical analysis is simply the analysis part is just looking at something in all of its parts and pieces. And the rhetoric is how does the writer or the speaker get their message across? And then the visual, notice I went backwards. Analysis, rhetoric, visual. But visual means that we're going to actually be looking at some images and talking about what we take away from that. So hopefully between this week's lecture and next week's lecture, you'll really get a good idea for what that looks like. So I've already told you that you are going to be having to write about what you're looking at. In this case, for this week, we're simply talking about the writing process. So you'll be annotating for that. But it does offer you some suggestions here. For example, looking at any visual signals, checking how it's broken down, noticing these headlines, right? Looking at these boxes that are set aside. Those are all really good tips for you. Now notice it does say highlighting, but I'm here to tell you that highlighting in and of itself does not show me that you've engaged with the text. You need to tell me why you've engaged with that. Highlight it. Tell me unknown word. Tell me context, something. But you have to let me know what you're thinking when you do that. So notice here that we have an example of an essay and then annotations with it. And this person has simply underlined things. So let's look at the underlining. High school and college students are increasingly likely to cheat or plagiarize. Now, I, as an instructor, have a question. Are they saying that because they believe it to be true? Are they saying that because they find it shocking? Are they saying that because they do it too? Do you see what I'm saying? Just by underlining, I don't know what they mean. It may just mean that it's important and they've identified the topic of the paper. This other one, moreover, students tend to view such academic dishonesty with indifference. Okay, are they saying that that's just evidence, or are they saying that they are indifferent about what they do? Notice here, however, they've got these numbers out to the side. So, we have something here, reasons for the prevalence of plagiarism. I'm guessing that we have new technology as one reason for prevalence of plagiarism, declining personal morality as another reason for plagiarism, and consequence of the pressure many students feel as a third reason. All right, so this makes a little more sense, but it only makes sense because I see these annotations out here to the side. So we come down here a little bit. A friend who teaches at a well-known Eastern university told me recently that plagiarism was turning him into a cop. Well, they've got an arrow here, and it points down to this. I have to assume that in every class someone will do it. So maybe this is the evidence that they're pointing to. But again, I'm left wondering what they're doing. So down here, for example, why did they circle intellectual engagement and mere training? I don't know. Down here, more than half the colleges in the country have retained services that check student papers for material lifted from the internet and elsewhere. Again, is that important? Is it something that they think is BS? Is it something that they've experienced? We see here nationally discussions about plagiarism tend to focus on questions of ethics. Did they underline it because it's the topic sentence? Did they underline it because they agree with it or disagree with it? I, as the evaluator, am looking at this going, I don't see a lot of thought in this. The big sleeping dog here is not the moral issue. The problem is that kids don't learn if they don't do the work. Okay, but as a personal reader myself, I'm going, but this person mentioned didn't they underline something about ethics somewhere else? So, I'm confused now because I'm trying to track this annotator's train of thought, and they've not done a good job annotating, so I don't understand what they're thinking as they're doing. And this goes through the entire section. What's going on with that? So, what we have done here, and I'm not asking you to actually do the exercise. I don't think it would be bad for you to try, but I wanted to point out the reason for the annotation. And that's so that you can go back and then track your own work. So when you start drafting, then you might actually look at this. Can you identify the main idea and the key supporting details? So when I go back up here, I go, okay, is this the main idea? I do have these reasons for support. This is the only thing that's really clear to me about what the reader was thinking, though. So use this as a way to practice your understanding of annotations. So let's go on to the next page. So we have another essay here. This would be a really good one for you to practice annotation on as well, so that you are looking at what's going on in this essay. How well organized is it? Go back and look at the checklist. What are you seeing about its key points, how it's organized? That would be a really good thing to do. So notice that I jumped ahead and I was actually already talking to you about the annotations because I think that's really, really important that you know about that first. So you can go back, you can actually look at the previous essay and annotate for these things. So if you didn't mark a lot up in there, what would it look like if you went back and asked these questions as you read the YouTube effect? Notice here how they've gone back, and now we see some ideas about what's going on here. This now helps me understand what the person was thinking about. So this person has gone back through and annotated this essay for content based on those questions. And it makes it much easier for me as the evaluator to see what they have done. So the next piece then is how do we annotate or read a visual text? So that could be graphs, charts, tables, infographics. Aren't you proud I can read? Maps, diagrams, photographs, cartoons, fine art, or advertisements. You're welcome. So we're going to do something very similar. We're going to analyze it. We're going to break it down in all of its parts and pieces. What colors are used? What words are used? What images are used? And then we have to ask the so what question. Why is that color there? Why is that picture used? Why is that word used? And I'll give you an example. One of the things that I do with my high school freshmen, because they're weird, is I love to have two of the boys come together like they're going to arm wrestle. And then I ask the students of the class as these guys are getting ready to arm wrestle. And yes, I know it's gender biased, but it's cool. So I have these two students sitting here and they're in the arm wrestling position. And I ask them several questions. The first question is, Are John and Sam holding hands? Now, the answer is true. John and Sam are holding hands. The second question I asked them, are John and Sam staring into each other's eyes? Usually, that's also true. So I have two completely true statements, but my specific questions have avoided the context. So what do those questions now mean in the context? Because if I just said Sam and John were holding hands and staring intently into each other's eyes, you know where those freshmen are going to go with that. And we get all the giggles and all of that kind of stuff out. But it's a really good quick lesson on perspective. So we have to take a look at the perspective of the person creating the visual. These are the types of questions that we want to ask for that. All of these questions will help us to figure that out. So for example, notice right here, this is our big text. This is what the creator of this cartoon wants us to see. Avoid burdensome, y'all, I can't even talk today. Avoid burdensome government regulation. And then we have move your company to. Down here it tells us where to go. Bangladesh. This week's factory death toll, 433 and counting. So, notice what we see here. We have a half-standing building. We have something that obviously looks like it has collapsed, been bombed, something like that. And it looks like we might have people moving, perhaps carnage, maybe something away. So what message is the person sending? Now it says avoid burdensome government regulation. So it's telling me if I don't want big government in my way, then I need to move to Bangladesh. But are they serious or sarcastic? Is this somewhere you would want your business to be? Odds are not. I don't know anything about this cartoon other than the fact that they're telling me that because of burdensome government regulations, and if I want to avoid it, I should go to Bangladesh. And this, they're saying, is the result of burdensome government regulation. If we don't have it, this is what we get. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I know that that is the message that the artist is sending me. Notice too how we have this color. This is not your bright blue happy sky. And then all of the destruction and chaos is in black and white. So he's telling us this is obvious. This is black and white. Avoid it and get this. Don't avoid it and you won't have to deal with this. So you can read on through this, see if I was right. Okay? Same thing you would do with the others. You're going to annotate an image for the assignment for next week. So notice here that the book has provided us a very good image, and it's just pointed out several things. The blank, a neutral background here, the vast difference here. The boy is wearing the same thing in both. He is staring straight ahead in both. But here we have something very bland, a mild color palette. We can't even see what's on this screen. But here we have very specific imagery. We have these palm fronds. We have what might be, I don't know, fireflies maybe, some type of sparklers. Obviously he's in a forest. So this is vital here with the contrast here. And it also says the one word, unplug. Well, I mean, you know, the boy's technically not plugged in, right? He doesn't have the phone in his hand, doesn't have the game controller in his hand, but it's saying get away from technology and go enjoy the outdoors. Well, notice here, discovertheforest.org, and it says the green band reinforces the importance of nature. I kind of think so, because here it's very dull white and beige, kind of plain. But over here, we have varying bright colors that stand out to us. So, the large letters here, even though they're at the bottom, are very specific. And typically, we look at images very similarly to how we look at words. We read top to bottom, left to right, correct? So, we're looking at this one first, and then we realize, oh, okay, this one is this, but with a different background. And we have a different feeling about it. So notice here, this is how the person has annotated the image. So we are going to be taking a look later on at some of the images in chapter 6, but you guys don't have to do that right now. But I did want you to understand that the art of annotation is no different in visualization than it is in text. So, what are you going to do this week? Let's see here. So, you are going to watch this video that I'm finishing right now. You're going to read and annotate the writing process, pages 11 through 28. So I just showed you how that's going to look. And then we're going to go to page 354 and 361. So we're going to scroll back down here. What page did I have? Yes, I forgot it that quickly. 354. So I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to go 354, ka-thing. And I'm going to annotate this article for photos that change history. This is a great place for you to practice again. So we have the entire article and it provides some images. So in this activity, you actually get the practice of doing both the article as well as the image. So think about this. Y'all, this looks tragic to me. And my last is 18 and he graduates in 3 weeks, knock on wood. You know, this is a travesty for me. It automatically looks painful to me. This looks like some type of security guard. This child is obviously unconscious. Are they already dead? Are they about to drown? And here's the thing. Water usually brings me peace. But with a baby face down that close to it, y'all know they tell you that a baby can drown in half an inch of water in the bathtub. This is scary to me. So I would note all of that as I see it. Okay? So go through the rest of the text. Keep on reading. Here again, this one is another one that is often brought up. It's from the Great Depression. And notice that the children's faces are turned away. And we have this mother. She is what my daddy would call rode hard and put up wet. But she's obviously struggling. This isn't your trad wife with her hair all done waiting on her Insta moment. Okay? She's not filming TikToks to make money for her family. She's struggling. We can tell by the condition of the children's clothes, the mother's clothes, that this is harsh. And here's the thing. She doesn't look that old. I mean, okay, I'm old and I've got gray hair. But y'all, I don't see a lick of gray here, and yet she's got wrinkles. So this is just me looking at the picture. And if I actually read the article, I'd know a whole lot more about migrant mother than I do. But just by looking at it, what does that tell me about the Great Depression? It was hard. Very hard. So, practice reading through this and annotating. Same thing. Look really closely. Zoom in if you need to. What are these on the ground? Are these bodies? What does that tell you? I see people looking down like they ain't got a problem with it. This guy over here looks like he's stopping people maybe from coming in. This guy's like, he's so casual, he's smoking a cigarette. These guys aren't even paying attention to it. I can promise you, if I was standing in that much carnage, I'd be looking. We continue to go on and we read. This was a very impactful image as well. And I tend to put myself in the point of pain. And this is a hard picture for me to look at for multiple reasons. But one is that I raised German Shepherds. And I hate to see that German Shepherds were turned on another human. And I know that this happened in our history. And it sickens me. And this picture represents, to me, the baselessness of humanity sometimes. Like how we can just be such horrible people. Obviously, this was taken during the Civil Rights Movement. We have white cops with these dogs, and I can't tell if that cop is, I would hope, but I doubt it. I would hope that this police officer is trying to keep the dog, like maybe going to push this person away, but it almost looks like they're pulling them closer. And that is tragic. And how about this guy right here? Look at his face. Is that one of should I step in and stop this? Or is that one of resignation? Meaning he has accepted that this is a fact of life. I don't want to live in a country like that. And perhaps that image is what taught other people what kind of country they want to live in. Another interesting one is we're talking about the country and we expand out and we look at the world. This is the first picture of the world taken from the moon. We didn't know what we looked like before then. But I got to tell you, once I saw pictures from space and I realized that I might be a tiny little pixel right about there, I am completely unimportant. And this image shows us that. Very stark contrast, obviously. We know that space is dark. We know that we only see this because the sun is like way over here shining on that. But isn't that fascinating? So these are some questions that you can ask yourself as you go through and read this, because this is the kind of part that's going to help you. And again, I'm not asking you to actually complete these assignments, but I think that these are good things for you to look at in order to help you annotate. So if you don't feel like you've done a good job annotating, go back and look at some of these questions and think about what you can say in the text about these questions. So remember, I'm only grading your annotations, not whether or not you've actually completed the work here. But I do think that's a good way for you to check your comprehension as you read independently. So, we've covered how to read and annotate in your textbook, Part 1, the writing process, and photos that change history. You're also going to post an initial response in Week 1's discussion topic by Thursday. And it's really important that you post by Thursday because you want other people to be able to respond to you, because you have to respond to 2 other people to get credit. So, if you read the syllabus, you'll know that an initial post only gets you 60 points. If you respond to 2 other people with quality posts, then each additional post gets you 20 points for a total of 100 points. It's a really good way to keep your grade up, but some people just don't care. That's up to you. But if you want people to be able to respond to you, respond in an appropriate amount of time. You're also going to, like I said, respond to at least 2 classmates by Sunday, by the end of day Sunday. So you're also going to submit your annotations, and I have both suggestions for annotations here. This whole lecture has been on annotations, so hopefully you'll be good with that. So you're going to complete your Module 1 assignment for Columbia College, and then you're going to answer this discussion post. This is just introducing yourself to us so we know where you are. I'll tell you a little quick one. Found out that I had a student whose English was his second language, and had I known that, I would have helped provide better tools for him. So, if there's anything that, for the good of the group that we can help each other with, fill that out. Then your Week 1 discussion topic. So you're going to think about everything that you read, both the writing process and the photos that change the world. You're going to give me 3 takeaways from this week's reading. So those could be things that you agree with or disagree with, any 3 things that really popped out to you in relation, of course, to the reading-writing connection. Then you're going to tell me 2 new things that appeal to you, that you might be able to take away from this, 2 things that you're really going to try to do, something along that lines. And then ask 1 burning question about anything you have read. I will always come in and answer your 1 burning question, but I think it's really good for you guys to also try to answer each other's burning question in your response. That helps you provide a substantive reply. And it also lets the other person know maybe they're not alone in thinking whatever they're thinking. And then you are going to post your Week 1 annotations. You're going to simply submit them. Let me view this as a student for you. Oh, it's access denying me. Sorry. Anyway, you're going to submit this. Let me edit it and make sure it's right so you can see. Yep. So it is graded, and any type of file uploads will work here. So if you write in your book because you have a copy of it on your desk and you write in it and you want to submit that, you can screenshot it and upload that. If you take notes on notebook paper, which is totally fine, and you want to upload that, you can upload that. So You also have unlimited attempts at this. So if you are one of those persons that do a page at a time and you want to upload page by page, that's fine. So this is due May 17th by 11:59. Okay? So that is everything I have got for you this week. If you guys have any questions, please remember, and as I said in the syllabus, you can reach me by email or text. If you text me, make sure you tell me what class you're in and your name so I know who I'm talking to. I hope you guys have a great first week.